After completing your studies, you finally shifted to Seoul to start a new life. Everything was new city, new home, and now a new job. You had applied to many companies, and after giving interviews, you finally got selected in a well known company. Today was your first day in the office. You get ready early in the morning, wearing your formal clothes with light makeup, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. You took a deep breath before entering the office building. The moment you stepped in, everything felt professional and big. You went to the reception, told them your name, and they guided you to your department. When you reached there, you were giving your desk. You quietly sat at your place, looking around, trying to understand everything. So many new faces, you don't know where to start or what to do. After some time, two girls came to you with a smile. Hi, are you new? One of them asked. You nodded. Yes, today is my first day. The girl with a bright smile said, I'm Kim Sol and she is Minha. Welcome to our team. You smiled back, feeling a little relaxed. They both sat with you and started explaining about your task. They were kind and helpful. Slowly, you started feeling comfortable. That day, your first day, you made two good friends, Kim Sol and Minha. You knew now you were not alone in this new journey. But after some time, suddenly your phone rang. It was a message from your boss. He called you to his office. You took a deep breath, stood up, and walked toward the boss's office. You knocked on the door gently. Come in, a calm voice said. You stepped inside. A man was sitting on a big chair, looking at his laptop. He looked up at you and said, My name is Min Jongi. I'm your boss. You know that, right? You nodded quickly. Yes, I know. He leaned back in his chair and said, Okay, if you want to keep this job, then do something big. I checked your profile. You are a graphic designer, right? You said yes. Good, he said. Then I want you to make presentation for next week meeting. In that meeting, another company is coming. Impress them. You nodded slowly, a little nervous. Okay, I will do my best. Good, you may go now, he said. You came out of his office with a confused and nervous face and went back to your desk. You sat down and whispered, Today is my first day in office and my boss assigned me a presentation for a meeting with another company. How will I manage this? Kim Sol, who sat beside you, heard you and smiled. This is our boss style. He always gives presentation tasks to new employees. If you fail, he fires you. If you pass, he gives you direct promotion. Your eyes went wide. What? Then Minha laughed and said, Kim Sol, don't scare her. She is just joking. You don't get fired. Boss Jungi just want his employee to confident and do their best. That's why he gives them a chance from the start. And don't worry, he always handles any mistake during meetings. Kim Sol nodded and added, Yes, and we will help you with the presentation if you want. You smiled with relief and said, Of course, I want your help. That night, you came back home feeling tired but serious. You took a shower, changed into comfy clothes, and went to the kitchen. You made a hot cup of coffee and went to your room. You sat on your bed, took a sip of coffee, opened your laptop, and started searching ideas for your presentation. But without realizing it, your eyes started closing slowly, and soon you fell asleep with your laptop still open beside you. Next morning, when you wake up, the first thing you realized was you slept last night without doing your work. You looked at your laptop still open beside you and got angry at yourself. Oh no, I don't do anything last night, you said frustrated. Today I wanted to show something to my boss. You quickly got ready, ate breakfast in a hurry and rushed to the office. When you reached, you sat at your place in a bad mood and didn't even talk much. Then you took a deep breath and started working. You began collecting some data and designed a rough layout for the presentation. After some time, you felt maybe it's better to show your work to your boss and understand what exactly he wants. You walked to Mr. Min's office and knocked on the door. He was on a call, so he said goodbye to the person on phone, then turned to you and said, Yes, come in. You stepped inside and showed him your work. He looked at it seriously. After 5 minutes, he closed your laptop and said, Not bad, but I want more things in this presentation. Because this is under your second boss and he wants more details. You blinked in shock. Second boss? Who's that? Before he could answer, his phone buzzed again. He checked it and said, Okay, you go now. We will talk later. You came out of his office confused and walked straight to Minha. Hey, who's our second boss? You asked. Minha stopped for a second and looked at you. Why are you asking? You said my presentation is under the second boss. That's what Mr. Min said. Suddenly, Kim Sol heard it and came close. What? You looked at both of them and said, why are you both acting like that? Tell me, Kim Sol looked at you seriously and said, because our second boss name is Mr. Jeon. And he has anger issues. He never gets satisfied with anyone's work. Whatever data we collect, he always rejects it. You stood there in shock. Then Kim Sol added with a smile, but one thing is good. He is so handsome. Oh my god, when you see him, you will. Before she could finish, Minha cut her. Don't forget, he's engaged. Kim Sol rolled her eyes. Yeah, I know. I was just telling Ryan. Now you were in full tension. Your heart was beating fast. You didn't even realize you were holding your breath. Minha gently touched your arm and said, don't stress. Mr. John is not in office today. He will come tomorrow. Today I will help you collect the data, don't worry. Then Kim Sol said, and pray he likes it. Minha looked at her. Kim Sol, don't scare her more. At night, Minha and Kim Sol came to your home. You all sat together, spread paper and laptop on the table and started working. You ate food, drank tea and shared some jokes while working. You all worked hard to collect good data for tomorrow, and after finishing most of the work, the three of you lay down on one bed, tired, and slowly all of you fell asleep. Next day, you and your friends got ready and reached the office. But because you all worked so late last night, your eyes were still sleepy and your heads are a little heavy. You sat on your desk, yawning, trying to stay awake, but after just 5 minutes, Kim Sol suddenly started acting fresh and full of energy. She was smiling for no reason, almost like an idiot. You looked at her confused. What are you doing, Kim Sol? Are you okay? You asked. She whispered with excitement. Stupid, look, Mr. John is in Mr. Min's office. Your heart dropped. Oh god, he's here. In rush, you fixed your files, opened your laptop, and started organizing everything quickly. But before you could finish, your phone rang. It was Mr. Min. He called you to the office with your work. Kim Sol and Minha looked at you. All the best, they said together. You took a deep breath, held your laptop tight, and walked toward the office. When you entered, Mr. John was already sitting in the chair across from Mr. Min's. His back was facing you, and he was shaking his leg non-stop, like he was deep in thought. Mr. Min looked at you and said, John, meet her, our new employee. Miss Ryan, she will be giving the presentation in your meeting. As soon as Mr. John heard your name, he froze just for a second. Then, before he turned to you, Mr. Min said, Ryan, show him your work. You nodded and stepped closer. You bent slightly to place your laptop on the table in front of Mr. John. But while bending, your necklace came out from under your shirt, and the ring hanging in it was now visible. Mr. John saw it. He stared at your necklace, shocked. His expression changed completely. Before you could say anything, Mr. John said in a low, serious voice, Miss Ryan, can you leave us for 5 minutes? You looked at him confused, but you nodded and walked out. From outside, you peeked through the window. You saw Mr. John talking seriously with Mr. Min. They both glanced at you through the glass while talking, but you had no idea what they were saying. After a few minutes, Mr. John opened the door and called you again. You stepped inside. Without even looking at you, he said, Miss Ryan, this data is not bad, but not good enough either. Add more things and details. You nodded, took your laptop, and quietly walked out of the room. When you turned around, you noticed Mr. John was again looking at you through the window. Your heart raced a little. Then he stood up and walked away to his own office. His office was made of glass, and from there, he was still looking in your direction. You felt nervous and walked back to your desk. You sat down and whispered everything to Minha. I feel so weird. He keeps looking at me even now. See, Minha looked and then said, don't worry, maybe he's just observing you, how you work, that's all. But Kim Sol smiled and said, or maybe he's starting to like you. You and Minha looked at her and said together, Kim Sol, please stop. She held her hands up. Okay, I'm just saying. Minha rolled her eyes and said, shh. Then you got busy in your work again. But the whole time you felt someone gaze on you. You tried to ignore it. After a few hours, you saw Mr. John talking on the phone, and then he walked out of the office. You finally felt relieved, like a weight was gone from your shoulder. The day passed slowly. That night you sat on your bed with your laptop open, working again, but your mind wasn't focused. Again and again, everything that happened today kept repeating in your thoughts. You thought about Mr. John, his voice, his strange behavior. You tried to understand it, but something just didn't make sense. It felt like you were missing something. You shook your head, sighed, and closed your laptop. Then you lay down on your bed and tried to sleep. Next day, when you reached the office, you noticed something strange. Mr. John was already in his office. Everyone looked surprised. What? How's that possible? One employee whispered. Kim Sol came near you and said, I think today Mr. John's mood is not good. He probably had a fight with his fiancée. That's why he came to the office on time. Shu and Minha looked at her with a straight face. What? Kim Sol said, acting innocent. It's possible. You rolled your eyes and sat down on your chair. Unfortunately, Mr. John's office was right in front of your desk. He could easily see you from the glass office. You were trying to focus on your screen, but something felt strange. Like someone was watching you. You slowly looked up. Mr. John was already staring at you. You whispered to yourself, what's wrong with him? Why does he keep looking at me like that? Just then your phone rang. It was from Mr. John's office. Your heart skipped a beat. He called you in. You took a deep breath, stood up, and walked slowly to his office. You knocked on the door. Come in, he said. You entered. He pointed toward the chair in front of his desk and said, sit. You sat down quietly. Then he asked, how are you, Miss Ryan? I am fine, you replied softly. Good, he nodded. Are you comfortable in this office? You nodded again. Yes, why? He looked at you for a second, then said, because I noticed you don't work much. You just sit there, looking here and there, your mouth open in shock. What? Before you could even say anything, he suddenly stood up and walked closer to you. He bent near your face and said, you know, I like people who work hard, so if you want to stay here, do your work. You were about to speak, but he cut you off again. Now, show me your work, he said. This time he stood beside you and bent very close to your side. You felt nervous, your hands started shaking while opening the laptop. Then suddenly Miss John placed a glass of water in front of you. She quickly said, no thanks, I am okay. He raised his eyebrow, but you don't look okay. You looked at him straight into his eyes, and in that moment you felt something strange. His warm breath was near your face, and it made you even more nervous. Then he noticed the light sweat on your forehead. He smiled a little secretly and walked back to his chair. You finally felt a little relaxed and started showing him the data. He scrolled through the files seriously. After some time he said, not bad. But before he could finish, you quickly said, I know. Add more data, right? Mr. John looked at you and said, yes, because I want this meeting to be successful. And if you fail, he paused. You looked at him confused. Then what? He looked straight at you and said with a serious tone, I will punish you. You stared at him in shock. Before you could say anything, he said, now you may go. You stood up and came out of his office with a bad mood. You went straight to your desk and sat down hard. Kim Sum and Minha looked at you with wide eyes. They both had seen Mr. John standing very close to you inside the office. Kim Sum leaned in and whispered, for the first time ever, I saw Mr. John that close to someone. What did he say to you? She replied in anger, I think he is the number one flirter. He doesn't listen to anything. Just speak and speak. Blah blah blah. Suddenly a voice came from behind. Miss Ryan, focus on your work. You froze. You slowly turned around and saw Mr. John had passed behind you. And he heard everything you said. You got scared and said quickly, oh, okay boss. Then you turned back to your screen and rushed to start working, like nothing happened. In the evening, you went to a restaurant with Kim Sol and Minha for dinner. The atmosphere was light and you all laughed, talked and enjoyed your time together. You ordered your food and started chatting about random things, office gossips, funny moments and weekend plans. After dinner, you stood up and said goodbye to your friends and went home. That night when you laid on your bed, your mind couldn't stop thinking about Mr. John. You kept turning left and right in your bed until slowly you fell asleep. The next morning you got ready and went to the office. You sat at your desk and opened your laptop. Everything was normal, but after some time, you leaned back in your chair, feeling a little lost in thoughts. You held your necklace in your fingers and gently rolled the ring around, thinking deeply. Then Kim So looked at you and asked, why do you always wear this necklace? There's a small ring in it. Mina also turned to you, curious. You sighed, took a small breath and said, This is the last memory of someone. Someone who belonged to my childhood. He was my best friend, my crush, and honestly, kind of everything to me. Both Kimsol and Mina listened silently. Jo continued, I used to live in a village. There was a boy named Jungkook. We used to go to school together, come back together, and on the way, we always ate momos. He always paid and used to say, I am 1 year older than you, so I will pay. You smiled softly at the memory. One day, he gave me this ring and said, this is a promise ring. Keep it with you always. If we ever get separated, I will find you and come back to you. Your smile faded a little. But one day, he suddenly left the city. His family shifted to Seoul. He didn't even say goodbye. He just left a message on phone. I waited for him many years, but he never came back. It's been 13 years now. I think he forgot me. Moved on with his life, but I still keep this ring as the last piece of him with me. There was silence for a second. Before Joe could say anything more, suddenly a voice came from behind. If your story is finished now, focus on your work. You turned quickly and saw Mr. George standing behind you. You froze. He had heard everything. You quickly stood up. Sorry, Mr. John, but I have finalized my presentation. I was just waiting for you. Mr. John took a slow step closer to you. His eyes locked with yours for a second. Then he glanced down at your necklace, at the ring. He looked at it silently for a moment, then said in a calm voice, Okay, come to my office. You entered into Mr. Jones' office, holding your laptop tightly. Your heart was beating fast, but you kept yourself calm. You walked to his desk and gently placed your laptop in front of him. He didn't say anything. Just silently opened the file and started checking your work. You stood there quietly, waiting for his reaction. After a few minutes, he finally looked up at you and said, Good, I like your work. Your eyes widened a little. You were not expected that. Then he added, Now I want you to start the meeting in the evening. Do your best. You nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Inside your heart was jumping with happiness. Mr. John liked your work. For the first time, he gave a proper compliment. But at the same time, you were also surprised. He didn't say anything extra this time. No weird comments, no standing too close, nothing. Just professional. He quietly looked back at his screen and said, Now you can go. You gave a small bow and walked out of his office. As soon as you stepped out, Kim Sol noticed the smile of your face. She quickly walked up to you and said, Wait a minute, why are you smiling like that? What happened? You smiled and said softly, Mr. John liked my presentation and he wants me to start the meeting in the evening. What? Kim Sol clapped softly. That's a big deal. You smiled more and went back to your seat. Then you started to finalize everything for the evening meeting. You double-checked your data and practiced your intro line in your head. While working, you looked up for a second and saw Mr. John coming out of his office. He looked in your direction for a brief moment, his expression unreadable, and then walked straight to Mr. Min's office. You watched quietly as he said Mr. Min's and started talking very seriously. Their faces looked tense, like something important was going on. But you didn't think too much right now. Your focus was on the meeting, your first meeting, and your first big chance. In the evening, you entered the meeting room. Inside, Mr. Min, Mr. John, some company staff, and members from other company were already sitting. Their boss, a man named Mr. Horn, also sat quietly, waiting. Took a deep breath and walked to your place. You glanced at Mr. John. He looked at you and gave a small thumbs up to start. You nodded and began the presentation. During the whole meeting, you noticed Mr. John was continuously looking at you very seriously, but you stayed focused on your slides and presentation. After 1 hour, your presentation ended. There was silence for a second. Then Mr. Hunt clapped and said, Well done. You smiled shyly and sat back on your chair. Both companies began discussing the presentation and the project. After some time, the deal was finalized. Then Mr. Hunt turned to you and said, Mr. John, your employee is very confident. I like her. You bowed your head in respect. The meeting was officially over. Everyone stood up and started leaving the room, but you noticed Mr. John didn't move. Just when you were about to leave, he said, Ryan, wait, I want to talk to you. You nodded slowly, your heart suddenly beating fast. You quietly gathered your paper and laptop. Then Mr. John stood up, walked close to you, and softly held your hand. You turned to him shocked. He gently moved your hair behind your ear and said, I am sorry, Ryan. You looked at him confused. Forward. He reached up slowly, touched your neck, and held your necklace, the one with the small ring. Then he whispered, I am late to fulfill my promise. I am sorry I came back so late to you. Your eyes widened, your lips trembled, tears fell down from your eyes. You placed your hand on his face and whispered in disbelief, Jungkook? He looked down gently, took your hand and kissed it softly. You looked at him with mixed emotions. Why didn't you come back? Why didn't you try to contact me? You asked with pain in your voice. He nodded slowly and said, I am sorry. When we shifted to Seoul, just after a few months, my father died in a car accident. Everything broke. Me and my mom were alone. We had no one, so we went to stay at my uncle's house. That time was really hard for us. He continued, but Ryan, even in that pain, I never forget you. I always remembered you. But I didn't know how to contact you. We lost everything. He paused, then said softly, as I grew up, I started a business with my cousin Jungi, and now I am here. But the day Jungi introduced you to me, and when I saw your necklace, I was shocked. I couldn't believe you are really here. You felt your anger melting. You understand his pain, his journey. You smiled softly through tears. Jungkook gently hugged you. You felt safe in his arms, like your childhood came back. You said, I heard you got engaged. Then Jungkook laughed and said, no, I am not. I am just tired of office girls. That's why I said I am engaged. Then you both laughed. Then both of you walked out of the meeting room, smiling happy. Jungkook offered to drop you home and you agreed. On the way and at your home, you both sat and talked about everything. Your lives, your past, your feelings. You laughed, cried a little and smiled again. That night, for the first time in many years, you felt peace. Like your heart was full again. Your stopped chapter was finally starting again with love, with laughter, and with Jungkook by your side.